Hello Internet, my name is Lave and I watched The Shape of Water, which is the third film that I've seen at the London Film Festival, and I didn't know too much about this one. All I knew that it was written and directed by Guillermo del Toro, and that was enough reason for me to go and see it. I didn't even watch the trailer for this one. That's how much faith I have in the man. His latest is set in the 60s and follows a character called Eliza, a mute girl who works as a cleaner in a government facility with various boffins working on secret projects. One day, a strange amphibian specimen is brought in to be experimented on, and Eliza strikes up a connection with it and decides to try and break him out. So let's kick things off by talking about Sally Hawkins' character, Eliza. I absolutely loved her. I loved her character and I loved her performance. You might think that because she's mute and because she can't talk that she's a really introverted, shy, vulnerable character, but she's really quite the opposite. Excuse the pun, but she's quietly efficient at everything she does. She's really smart. She seems to pick up things just by looking at them. She's really funny as well. She's a really personable character. I really loved her. And this extends to her friends as well. This film has got a really good ensemble cast, which includes Octavia Spencer, who's playing her work colleague and overprotective friend. She's really funny, and I particularly liked Richard Jenkins as well, who's playing her neighbour who's gay and aging. He practically steals the show. I can't decide whether I liked Octavia Spencer or Richard Jenkins more. They're both really funny in this. The antagonist of the film is a guy called Mr. Strickland. No, not that one. This one is played by Michael Shannon, who's the government leader of all of the projects. He's a bastard. You love to hate him, and you might argue that Michael Shannon has done this type of role before, but he's so good at them and he's so good in this. He's definitely the darkest character in the film, but that's not to say that he doesn't have his deadpan funnier moments as well. I really loved his explanation of why he keeps eating these cheap sweets or candies. It's brilliant. He's literally chewing scenery. It's great. And the film does manage to balance the lighter and darker elements really well. It's easily the funniest film that I've seen from Guillermo del Toro, but not at the expense of the darker stuff. Sometimes his humour in his other films doesn't always land for me, but in this one he's in his absolute element. He's on fire. It really comes across that he was having so much fun creating this world and the characters and the story, and it works beautifully. He even goes as far as to poke fun at himself. He gets a lot of his characters to comment on how green everything is. I think referring to the colour palette that he's using in this, it's actually teal. It definitely feels like it's a very sentimental film for him. He's referencing other movies. His character Eliza even lives above a cinema, and you get his other trademarks as well. Like, you get to see some of his concept art worked into the film as well. It's absolutely fantastic. I love that stuff. So yeah, it definitely feels like he's in his element. It's almost like he's playing, and it's wonderful to see. But that's not to say that this film isn't incredibly layered as well. Like every good fantasy film, it serves as an analogy for real world problems, and this film is exactly the same. It's commentating on everything from racism to sexism to homophobia, human rights, equality, and it's all told in a film which is simultaneously a love story. It's also a heist story and also elements of espionage in there as well. If you think that sounds like a jumbled mess, trust me, it isn't. It's great. So that's my thoughts on The Shape of Water, and pause the video if you want to take a closer look at my enjoyment tracker now. It's a film by Guillermo del Toro, which is a fantasy period drama. That should be enough to sell you on this, and it did for me, and I was really happy to go and see this. I really enjoyed it. However, there is one more thing that I wanted to talk about, and I've deliberately left it to the end of the video because I can't figure out if it's a spoiler or not. It surrounds people's expectations of what they hope this film is or isn't. If you know what I'm talking about, and if you don't want that spoiled, then stop watching now. Like, share, sub, all that stuff. Go away. As I said at the beginning of this video, I didn't watch any of the trailers for this, so I really went in without any expectations, and about 20-25 minutes in, when you're introduced to this amphibian creature, I was like, oh my god, hang on, is this a Hellboy prequel? Because he's got a striking resemblance to Abe from Hellboy. He does exactly the same things. He eats the same stuff. Is this a Hellboy prequel? And now I've seen the film, I still don't know. I think it's one of those films that if you want it to be, then yeah, I guess you can think of it, but it never outright says it. So I personally think that it isn't. Either way, this film completely stands on its own. It's a fantastic film from Guillermo del Toro, in the vein of Pan's Labyrinth. It doesn't go as deep into the fantasy element, but it's really risque in some moments. It's really, really fantastic. I had a real blast with it. So thanks very much for watching my review of The Shape of Water. I've got 3 more films to see at London Film Festival, and then that's it. So keep an eye out for that. And in the meantime, thanks very much for watching. I really do appreciate it. If you can, give this video a like, and don't forget to share the Lave. It's not a Hellboy prequel, but it could be. Subscribe.